Hello students, welcome to this session. I've just solved this JEE Main Test 80 and here's the analysis of the physics section. So paper is a very nicely designed paper. There are many questions that I can say I haven't seen before. So there are some very good questions I have been seeing for the first time, and plus there are many questions which require rigorous calculations. So it was a very nice paper. You can score a little in it, but you can't score very much high in it. For scoring very high, you need to be very solid in it. Now as per this, I think the question number 18 there's a flaw in the answer, and similarly also in the question number 6 the concept they have taken is not right. What I feel, I also solved using what they assumed, but that is not the appropriate one. So the 7 questions were tough, 10 were medium, 8 were easy. So I suppose for an average student, if you get 50, it would be a very good, and for a very good student it should be 75 plus score in this particular paper. So it was slightly tough. So see the first. A block of mass m goes on a frictionless surface of incline and the angle of incline suddenly changes from 60 to 30. Okay, the block is initially at rest at A. Assume all the collisions to be totally inelastic. Okay, so what we have this, first of all, when it is about to reach B, let's say its velocity is v1, it would be directed like this. So it would be directed like this. So what I can make out, this angle is 30 degrees, so this will be 30 degrees. So first of all, let this velocity be v1 and let's say this height be h1. So I can directly say v1 is root 2g h1, and from the geometry 1060 degree is h1 upon what we are given root 3. So h1 is 3 meters, so I have this as root 6g. Now because it is inelastic, only the component which is parallel to incline will remain, so the velocity turns from v1 to v2 and it will be like this, and this v2 would be equal to v1 component, which is v1 cos 30. You can write it as root 3 by 2 v1. Now going further, this will fall by height h2, so I can directly say the final speed vc square would be equal to v2 square plus 2g h2, and again using that geometry 1030 degree is equal to h2 upon 3 root 3. So h2 again comes out as 3 meters. Okay, this is also coming out as 3 meters. So it is v2 square is 3 by 4 into v1 square, that is 6g plus 2g into this is again 3. So what we have now, this is 2, this is 3, this is 9 by 2 plus 6, 9 by 2 plus 6, that means plus 6 times what we had g. So what we will get now, 12 plus 9, and that is 21 by 2 into 10, that comes out as 21 into 5, that is 105. So Vc comes out as 105 under root meter per second. So we will go for option B in this case. Now it's a nice question. Second one, you have a metal wire of 3 ohm resistance elongated to make a uniform wire of double its previous length. The new wire is now bent in and joined to make a circle. If 2 points of this circle makes an angle 60 degree at the center, the equivalent resistance between two is. Now first, it is elongated to double its length, so we simply say the wire is same. So in this case, we don't write R equal to rho L by A, we say the volume remains same. So we do it like this, rho L square upon volume. So you know R is proportional to L square. So length is double, so resistance will be 4 times. So new resistance is 12 ohms. Now it is bent to make a circle, and now you have 2 points which make an angle 60 degree. 60 degree means that is 1/6 part, that is 2 ohm. The remaining would be 10 ohm. And now the equivalent resistance between these two would be parallel of 2 and 10, that would be 20 by 12, that is 6 by 5 ohms. So that 6 by 5 ohms, that is what we are getting, not 6 by 5, sorry, it is 10 by 6, I am wrong, this is 5 by 3 ohms. So go for option A here. Next, conducting sphere A having a radius A is charged to a v1. Now it is surrounded by another shell of radius b. The potential v2 acquired by sphere A after it is conducted to shell b by a thin conducting wire. So as per this is having some potential v1, now surrounded by another conducting shell. Wait a minute, we have this conducting shell of potential of radius b. Now the v2 acquired by A after it is connected to shell b by a thin conducting wire. So let's assume this charge initially was q. So what we had, v1 was equal to k q1 by A. Now as you connect it by a wire, this complete q will go to this, you know this, because you cannot have a charge on the inner one, because that will create a field in the meat, or that will create a potential difference basically. So that potential difference between two will become 0, so q will go to the outer one. So in that case, the potential v2 on its surface or this surface will be same at all the inside point, and that would be equal to k q1 by B. So I can write this KQ1 as AV1, so that is AV1 by B. So I can write it as option A. We'll go for it. So it's a straightforward. Whenever these two shells are conducted, the charge of the inner goes on the outer one. Next one. Body starts from rest, moves with constant acceleration. The ratio of distance covered in nth second to distance covered in n seconds. So first of all, it's a nice question. Because it starts from rest, the distance covered or the displacement in total n seconds, this term would be equal to u is 0, that is half a into n square. While the displacement only in nth second, you go by that equation u plus a by 2 into 2n minus 1, u is 0. So that is a by 2 into 2n minus 1. So the required ratio delta x nth to delta x from 0 to n second would be equal to a by 2 2n minus 1, a by 2 into n square. So that comes out as 2n minus 1 by n square. You can write it as 2 by n minus 1 upon n square. So again, option A is the right choice in this case. Next one. The mass and radii of the earth and moon are this and this. Their centers are at a separation d. What should be the minimum speed with which a body of mass m should be projected from a point midway so as to escape to infinity? Okay. So this is earth, this is moon. Now this is the midpoint. So this distance is d by 2, this distance is d by 2. Now to escape to infinity simply means the total energy associated of this particle with this system should be 0. Or I can write, let this point be P. So its energy potential would be m into V at P due to 2 plus half m V square. That should be greater than equal to 0. So in the limiting case, what we will have, that is V square should be greater than equals to minus 2p, or that is equal to root of minus 2v in minimum case. And Vp would be due to the first one minus gm1 upon dB by 2, therefore due to the second one minus gm2 upon d by 2. So that minus minus get plus. So what we will get this, this is 4g by d common, it comes out as m1 plus m2 in this case. So going by the option, it would be option B. So just remember, whenever you have to make to infinity, energy should be greater than equal to 0. Till energy is negative, it is bounded, it won't escape to infinity. That's a very common concept. Next. Temperature gradient in the earth crust is 32 degrees Celsius per kilometer and the mean conductivity is this. Considering the earth to be a sphere of radius 6000 kilometer, the loss of heat by the earth every day is. So what we can make it out, it is 32 degrees Celsius per kilometer and it is a sphere of radius 6000 kilometers. Now for a sphere, you know the thermal resistance formula that we typically employ whenever we use this thermal resistance. We typically write it as something called, we have this 1 upon 4 pi k 1 upon a minus 1 upon b sort of thing that we generally use. 1 upon a minus 1 upon b, where what we have, a is the smaller one and b is the larger one, as we typically use. So here if I use this, what we will get now, because this r1 is tending to 0, so typically it's become very tough to answer it. So it's tough to answer how we will do. So it's because this is going to be spherical way, you have this dt by dx equals to 32 degrees Celsius per kilometer, but I can't make out from this formula. So here I am assuming they have just considered it like simple h, they have uses at ka dt by dr, and they have taken area to be 4 pi r square, which I don't think is the right way to do, but we are left with no choice to do this only. So it is 0.008. just be careful about the unit, calorie per second per centimeter per degree Celsius. Area, if I talk about, it is 4 pi r square. So let's say convert it into 6000 kilometers, so that is 10 to the power 3, or if you convert in centimeter, 10 to the power 5 square centimeter square. And this dt by dr is 32 degrees Celsius per kilometers, mean 10 to the power 5 centimeters. So now the units get cancelled out. This is h. So in 1 day it would be, the q would be h into 1 day. 1 day means we have 3600 seconds in 1 hour. 1 day means that is 24. So what we are left with now, this is 8, this is 10 to the power 5, 10 to the power minus 3, 10 to the power minus 8 into 4 pi into this is 10 to the power 8, so this become 10 to the power 16 into 36 into 32 into 24 into 3600 calories. Oh, so what we have, 16 and 8 would be 8, this is 10. Now what, 8 into 4, 32 pi, and this is 32 into 24 into 36 square into 36. Okay, So what we will be left with, 36 into 36, it would be a bigger figure, I suppose. It would be in thousands, this would be in thousands, so it will be 10 to the power 6 and it would be 10 to the power 7. So I think 10 to the power 17, 18 calorie is the approximate value. So we'll go for 10 to the power 18 calorie in this. But again, I don't agree with the way they are solving, because we know for a sphere the resistance is calculated like this. In this case, I can't calculate it. Next, find the minimum attainable pressure of an ideal gas in the process. So what is the minimum attainable pressure of an ideal gas in the process? You have to find out. So what would be that? Where T0 and alpha are positive constant and V is the volume of 1 mole of gas. Okay. So what we are left with, minimum attainable pressure, and it is given as an ideal gas. So ideal gas means PV equal to, for 1 mole you can write it as nRT, for single and 1 mole, so you can call it as PV equals to RT. So pressure you typically write as RT by P, or volume you can write as RT by P. So this is RT by P that you can write. So this is volume. Now this is volume, so volume would be RT by P, and going by this equation, what we will at T is T0 plus alpha V square, which is RT by P whole square. So this is how you get the pressure equation like this. So what we get now, this is P square T is equal to T0 P square plus alpha R square T square. That is what we are getting now. So pressure would be alpha R square T square upon what we will left with, T minus T0 whole root. That is what we are getting. So minimum attainable pressure. So what would be the minimum attainable pressure in this particular case if I talk about? So whenever it is minimum, the best thing is go differentiate it, because T is coming up and down. So what we do, dP by dt, just make it to be 0. So I can write it as this above the term is common, and I can write it as a root of T minus T0. So what we will left with, just applying that rule of what we call division rule. It is root of T minus T0 into root of alpha R minus root of alpha R alpha, and this is RT into T minus T0. This would be 1 by 2 root of T minus T0 that you will write, that would be equal to 0. That is the result that you will be getting. So this is the result that you will be getting. So what we will have, this would be equal to, if I solve it, what I left with, this is root alpha RT is equal to root of alpha R 2 times into T minus T0, that is I am getting. So this root alpha R goes. So what we are left with, this is 2 T0 will come here, T will come here. So T must be equals to 2 T0 for this to be minimum. So what we are getting, T is equal to 2 T0. Now put the value where it was, here it was. So this is P minimum root alpha R, this is 2 T0, and this would be root of T0. So what we are left with, 2R root of alpha T0 that I am getting. This is option A. So again, slightly calculative one, but finally we can do this. Next, a wire in the form of a square of side A carries a current I. Then the magnetic induction at the center of square wire is, okay, so it's a standard one. Just calculate due to 1 and multiply it by 4. So due to 1 would be mu naught I upon 4 pi, gap is A by 2, cos 45 plus cos 45, that is 1 by root 2 plus 1 by root 2, and multiply it by 4. So this 4 goes, this is 2 mu naught I upon pi A, and it comes out as root 2. So what we are left with, 2 root 2 mu naught I by pi A. Go for the option C in this particular case. Next, to a stationary person, rain appears to be falling at his back at 30 degree to the vertical. If he starts moving with the speed 0.5 meter per second, he finds that rain falls vertically. So what we have, this is actually the velocity of rain when the man was stationary. It is at 30 degree. Now it moves, it finds it to be vertical. Let's say it move forward. So what we have now, we have to find that VRM. So VRM would be VR minus VM. So this is VM, and now it becomes vertical as per this question. So what we have, this value is 0.5. So what I can directly make out, I can write it as sine of 30 degree is equal to VM by VR. So VR comes out as VM by sine 30. Sine 30 is 0.5. So that becomes 2VM, 2VM, 2. What we need to find out, we have to find the V of rain. Yes, that is 2 Vm. Vm is 0.5, that is equal to 1 meter per second that we can go for. This question perhaps came in NEET or JEE Main a day or two before. Next. Figure depicts the xt graph of 1D motion of a body of 0.4 kg mass. The magnitude of each impulse is, this is again a question asked in some exam previously. Just see the velocity just before was 1 meter per second and just after it is minus 1 meter per second from the slope. So what we can say, impulse is delta p is m, v final minus v initial. So what we have, because both are in opposite direction, it would be 2 times, so it would be 2m. I can make out 2 into 0.4, that is 0.8 Newton second. That is the impulse it receives in the per collision here. Same here also. Next. There is a stream of neutrons with a kinetic energy of 0.032 C7 eV. If the half-life of the neutron is 700 seconds, what fraction of neutrons will decay before they travel a distance of 10 meter? This again question came yesterday, and I told that this is a very wrong notion to give such close option, because the calculation is not going to be that easy. So what we will have here, simply you can say the kinetic energy has a half mv square. So from here what you will get, the value of speed 0.0327 ev is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule. So if you do this v square calculation, perform it, divided by mass of the neutron is coming, so the velocity comes out as 2500. You need to have a calculator because it won't be that easy to get, because it is not exact 625 that comes. So it is to 2500 meter per second. Now it time takes to travel, half-life of the neutron is 700 seconds, so 10 meters. So 10 meter traveling time would be 10 meter upon 2500 meter per second. That comes out as 4 into 10 to the power minus 3 seconds. Now in 4 into 10 to the power minus 3 seconds, this is very small as compared to that. So I can directly write that dn by dt is almost delta n by delta t. It is decaying, so mod of delta n decayed would be equal to lambda times n. So that would be lambda you know is ln 2.693 upon t half, which is 700 into n delta t, or the fraction you are to suppose, so that is delta nd upon delta n, that would be into delta t, that is 4 into 10 to the power minus 3. And if you do this comes out as 3.96 into 10 to the power minus 6 second. Again it is very tough calculation, because I have done yesterday, I am doing it directly today. You can check the video of that NEET paper. Oil drop carries a charge q as a mass m. It is falling freely with a speed v. Electric field required to make the drop move upwards with the same speed is. So it is freely falling. That means that mg was equal to qe here. Was equal to, sorry, not qe, that is equal to that viscous and the buoyancy force. Okay. So that force depends on v, that F equal to mg. Now to go upwards, if it go up, we have this mg acting down, we have this Fv also acting down, so therefore this QE must be upwards and it should balance. So QE should be equal to mg plus Fv, and from here we can make out this Fv equal to mg, because when it goes with terminal speed, forces are balanced. So that is 2 mg, so E is 2 mg by q. So the field required is 2 mg by q. Next, there are two identical small holes of the area of cross section A on the opposite side of a tank containing a liquid of density rho. Difference of height is h. The tank is resting on a surface. Force required to be kept on equilibrium. Now what we have, this goes with speed v1 here, v2 here. So what we have, the force that act we directly know as rho a v square. So this will exert a force F1 this side, this will exert a force F2 on this side. So the net force that we will have on the container will be F2 minus F1. Definitely F2 would be more. That would be rho a v2 square minus v1 square. And v2 square minus v1 square you can directly make out as 2gh. So that is the force that we are looking for. So just look at the option. This comes out as option C. This is again a very general question you must have done before. We have a convex lens of 10 centimeter. Image formed by it is at least distance of distinct vision. Okay. So it is at the least distance of distinct vision. The magnifying power is, you know, the magnifying power in this case for it is a simple microscope. It would be 1 plus d by f. So it is 1 plus 25 by 10, that is 3.5 for sure. If it would have normal adjustment, it would be d by f. In near point, it is 1 plus d by f. So it's a very easy question from simple microscope theory. Next, we have a disc of mass m, radius r, mounted on a fixed horizontal axis. Block of mass m hangs from the massless string that is wrapped around the rim. The magnitude of acceleration is, so it's a standard one. This is the disc and this is the block that goes. So what we will have, if it goes with acceleration a, this point's acceleration will also be a. So if I write it as alpha, so we can have that a is equal to alpha. That is the constraint relation. Now for this, This is mg, this is t. What I will write, mg minus t is equal to ma. For that I can write as t into r would be equal to I would be mr square by 2 into alpha. Alpha I can write as a by r. So what we have, t equals to ma by 2. So adding these two, what we have, mg is equal to m plus m by 2 into a. So acceleration comes out as 2 mg upon 2m plus m. That is what we are getting. So going by these options, I go for option B here. Next, a change of 8 milliampere in the emitter brings a change of 7.9 in the collector. The values of alpha and beta is what we first write. Alpha, I should write alpha is delta IC by delta IE. That is what you know. So it is 7.9 upon 8.0. That is 79 by 80. I am getting 79 by 80. So this is 79 by 80. And what is beta? Beta is alpha upon 1 minus alpha. You write, that is 79 by 80 upon 1 minus 79 by 80. So what it comes out is 79 upon 1. So this is 79. Beta is 79. And this alpha, I am clearly getting, it would be, let me try now. This is 0.972. Now 72 if I have, now remaining is 70 would be, let's say, close to 8 and something, so it would be 0.99. I'll go for 0.99 and 79. Next, the specific heat of an ideal gas at constant pressure and constant volumes are given. Its density at NTP is. Now specific heat, just check the unit, that is SP minus SV. What we generally write, Q is ms delta T, that is equal to NC delta T. So what we can write this SP minus SV is, take the mole as 1, this will become molar mass. This M will become molar mass. So S can be written as Cp upon m naught minus Cv upon m naught. Many times this concept has been used, and this is given as 525 minus 315. That is 210. So Cp minus Cv is always R. R upon m naught is 210. So the value of the molar mass comes out as R upon 210. R is 25 by 3 into 210. This is 5. This is what we write. This is 42. So 5 upon 42 into 3, that is 126. This is what we have, kg per mole. So converted, it would be 5000 upon 126 gram per mole. This is the molar mass. Now density. Density, what we can write at NTP. At NTP, the density, if I have to write, so this molar mass, first of all, let me calculate. This comes out as, if I had to solve it, it would be 39.2 gram per mole. That is I am getting. Now density, what we have, 1 mole occupies 22.4 liters. So density would be 1 mole is 39.2 gram and this occupies 22.4 liters. So this is gram per liter. That is what we am getting. So the gram per liter will definitely be converted into that kg per meter cube, because both factors are same. So if I do this, this is approximately 1 point, and it would be 75, closer to 1.75 kg per meter cube. The factor will remain the same. So nice question again. More of chemistry, less of physics. Next, which of the following of the dimension of magnetic flux? So magnetic flux, is equal to B into A, that you directly write. Okay. Or the better thing is, induced EMF is equal to minus d phi by dt. That is a better thing. So phi is EMF into dt. And EMF is what work done upon charge into time. So work is ml2 t minus 2, q is at, and this is t. So tt goes, so it is ml2 t minus 2 a minus 1, or current minus 1 if they have written it as I. So it comes out as, this is which one is coming, let me check. ml2 t minus 2 I was searching for, and ml2 t minus 2, and it is coming out as I don't think it is I minus 1. I think there is no option is here. So this is again a bonus one. I think they should have given it minus 2, then that might be a correct one. But still right now there is no option that is correct in this. Next, sound waves in the air are always longitudinal because of the inherent characteristics. Air doesn't have a modulus of rigidity. Air is a mixture of several gases. So for transverse wave, it should have a modulus of rigidity. Air doesn't have, so therefore the option B is correct. Next, block of 0.1 kg connected to a spring of unknown constant K, compressed to a distance x from equilibrium and released from rest. After approaching half the distance, it hits another block and comes to rest momentarily while the other block goes with speed 3. The total initial energy is OK. it hits another blocks and comes to rest momentarily. That means what we can assume, it's assuming it should be an identical block, I suppose. That is what it wants to say in this particular case. Okay, then only the velocities can be exchanged. So this velocity must be equal to 3 meter per second before coming to this. So at distance x by 2, so we know v is equal to omega under root of a square minus x square, and that should be equal to 3 at that point, at that a by 2 point. So omega you write as root of k by m, that is k upon 0.1. Now a square minus x square, that is x square minus x square by 4, that comes out as 3. So what we get here is square everything, 10k 3x square by 4 equal to 9. So what we have, kx square equal to 9 into 4 by 30, that is 3 by 10, that is 12 by 1.2. And energy of the spring would be half kx square, that is 0.6 joule. You can directly go for it. So again a good question, mixing some concepts. Next, hydrogen like atom described by Bohr model observed to emit 6 wavelength originating from all possible transaction between a group of levels. These levels have energy between this and this, including both these values. Find the atomic number of the atom. Okay, the ground state energy is taken as this. So because it is what we are getting, this is 6 lines. So what we have, n higher minus n lower into n higher minus n lower plus 1, that is the formula we use for the total number of lines. So from that let's say this difference be, let's say x. So what we have, x into x plus 1 by 2 equal to 6. So x comes out as what we can write 3, x comes out as 3. That means the difference between the two is 3. So let's say one is n, then other would be n plus 3. Okay, now the difference of the energy that you write is RHC square 1 upon n square minus 1 upon n plus 3 whole square. That is given as this difference. What we can have energy between 0.85 and 0.55544. Okay, so I can directly check for the two levels. There's no need to do this. What I can say for this nth level would be minus 13.6 z square by n square, that is equal to 0.85 negative. So that it goes. So z square by n square is what we have, or better write n square by z square, that would be better value. So this n square by z square, if you solve this, will come out as 16. So n by z is 4. This is the first thing you get. Next, 13.6 z square upon n plus 3 whole square is equal to 0.544. So again n plus 3 upon z whole square, that will come out as 13.6 upon 0.55444, that comes out as 25. So n plus 3 by z comes out as 5. So what we have now, just divide the both. It would be n upon n plus 3 is equal to 4 upon 5. So 5n is 4n plus 12. So n is equal to what we are coming, n is coming out to be 12. So n is coming out to be 12 and z will come out to be 3. So what you are searching for, z comes out as 3. So it's a nicely designed question, very good question. Next, in the following arrangement, system was initially at rest. Okay, 5 kg block is now released. Assuming pulley string to be massless smooth, if the acceleration of the block c is x by 10, then find the value of x. Okay, now let it be t, let it be t, this becomes 2t, this becomes 2t. So now it is released, and what we can go for now here, because it is 10 kg, it is 5 kg. When you will release it, what we can expect it? I think the 5 kg block is not going to generate that tension that it is going to pull up this 10 kg one. So this 10 kg block cannot move, so it will remain stationary. Now this tension can be great, it can be less than, it is less than 50, but 50 is double is 100, so it can move up. So let's say if it goes with acceleration a, for it goes x, this what you know, because it is stationary, the pulley has to, let's say this x will come, so pulley will go down by x by 2. Pulley will go down by x by 2, so that means it will also go up with acceleration a by 2. So what I can write now, so writing the equation, what we have, 5g minus t is equal to 5a, and 2t minus 8g equals to 8 into a by 2. Okay, so just multiply it by 2, what we will get, 10g minus 2t equals to 10a, So add them up, what we have, 2g is equal to 14a. So acceleration comes out as 2g by 14. So for this is for a, so acceleration of c would be half of that, that is g by 14, and g by 14, that is written as x by 10. So the value of x comes out as 10g by 14, that is 10 into 9.8 upon 14. So 14 is, this is 0.7, so this is 10 into 0.7, that is 7. So this is will be 7, x value will be 7. Again a nice question on constraint 1. Next, you have a non-conducting ring 4 kg, radius 10 cm, charge 2 coulomb uniformly distributed over its surface. Ring is placed on a rough horizontal surface such that the plane of the ring is parallel to the surface and a vertical magnetic field is switched on. At t equal to 5 second, ring starts to rotate about the vertical axis through the center. The coefficient of friction between the ring and the surface is found to be k by 24. The value of k is. Now, so because it is a time varying magnetic field, at the periphery there will be some electric field acting that will be exerting this force QE like this, and it will be producing a torque, and torque would be equal to QER. You can directly say F into R, that is QE into R. So now my logic is to find the electric field. Electric field, you know, because it would be in an internal point, I can assume, so it would be a, that would be an internal, so it would be R by 2 into dB by dt. I can make it out. So this EMF, this induced field would be R by 2 dB by dt, which is R by 2 dB by dt comes out as 8t square. So it is what we have. This is if I'm right, no, it is 12, it is difference 12t square, so we have 6RT square. This is the EMF, this is the electric field. So the torque acting would be, what I can write, Q what we have, and this torque is QER, Q is 2, E is 6RT square, and radius is 0.1. Now this torque is just able to rotate it at 5 seconds. That means at 5 seconds its torque equals a torque that friction can generate, and the friction that it can generate torque would be mu mgr, you can write. So in limiting case, that would be equal to 2 into 6r, t square is 25 into 0.1. So what we are left, so this r and r I can cancel, so mu comes out as 2 into 6, 12 into 25, that is 300 into 0.1, 30 upon mg is 4, that is 40, that is 3 by 4. So now write it as k by 24, it would be 18 by 24, you can make it out. So k value is 18. So again you can do this. So it's a very nice question. Block with masses 2 kg, 1 kg, 2 kg are connected by a spring of 24. Placed on a frictionless horizontal surface, the block M1 is imparted an initial velocity of 12 to the right. The value of amplitude of oscillation of the block with respect to other. Okay. With respect to the other is. Okay. So what we have, the amplitude of oscillation will be, you know, is it is going to be, what we can say, it is the mean position is given, so it would be the position of maximum compression. I can make it out. So at maximum compression, you can directly say both will be having the same velocity, or what I can say here, the best is go in the frame of Cm. So if I'll go in the frame of Cm, first of all, what is VCM? VCM, you can make it out as, because you have booked this one into 12 centimeter per second upon 3, that comes out as 4 centimeter per second. So in C frame, if I'll talk about, and let me draw it again properly. In C frame, what we will have, this 1 kg and 2 kg will appear like this is 4, so it will come to be coming at 8 centimeter per second, and this one is assumed to be coming at 4 centimeter per second towards it, like that. So this is the situation that we will be having. Now the value of amplitude of oscillation. So in the Cm frame, what I can say, this is the maximum kinetic energy, and I can write it as the total mass into a square type something that we can go for it. So directly what we can get, the maximum compression that we will get now, that would be the loss in this energy. Just remember, the Cm velocity won't be loose. If you have learned the C frame theory, I have just found that k dash, and this k dash is half into 1 into 8 centimeter, that is 0.08 square, plus half into 2 into 0.04 whole square. So if I solve it, it is 8, that is 64.000, not zeros, there are too many zeros I have put in, 64, and it would be 0.0016, and this was 1 and this is 1, so this was divided by 2, this was 1 there, because that was mass was 2. So what we are left with, 0.0032, so this is 0.0048 joules, and this would be equal to half k x max square. So what is the x max? Maximum compression, x max square is 0.0048 into 2 upon k is 24. So this is what we get. We get is 2, that is 4 into 10 to the power, what we get, minus 4. So x max is directly 2 centimeter. So maximum compression is 2 centimeter. So the amplitude of oscillation with respect to each other would be 2 centimeter, of each would be 1 centimeter. I can go, both will come 1 centimeter, or we can say the overall it will come out as 2 centimeter. So the answer would be 2 centimeter in this case. So just remember, not the complete kinetic energy converts into spring energy, only the k dash, because Cm's velocity will remain unchanged because spring is an internal force for them. Next, 4 mono and coherent sources of light emitting waves in phase are placed at 0a, 2a, 3a. Okay, like this, 0a, 2a, 3a, like this. Okay, if the intensity of wave reaching at a point P far away on y-axis from each of the sources is almost the same and equals I naught, then the resultant intensity at P for A equal to lambda by 8. Okay, so what we can make the part difference, the first part difference delta x1 between these two would be A equals to lambda by 8, that is 2 pi by lambda into lambda by 8 comes out as pi by 4. So we can say the first comes as I naught, or first amplitude, better, we say the first wave comes at amplitude A naught, second one would be at pi by 4, third one would be at pi by 2, and the fourth one would be at this 3 pi by 4. So if I add 2, what I will get now, and just to add these 4 vectors and check the resultant amplitude. So if I check the resultant amplitude for this particular case, what I'll be coming with, so just it's a very nice way to ask. Let's say this one, these two will have a resultant of root 2 a naught, and these two will have a resultant of root 2 a naught, and now both will having an angle pi by 4. So the resultant amplitude would be the sum of these two, which both are equal, so I can directly time 2 times root 2 a naught into cos of angle by 2. That you remember, if you have two forces F and F at an angle theta, the resultant is at midpoint, and that would be equal to 2f cos of theta by 2. I am using this. So it comes out as 2 root 2 a naught cos of pi by 8. Now this is a tricky one, cos of pi by 8. You people might be remembering this. So this is the amplitude. So intensity is proportional to a square. So that would become 8 times I naught into cos square pi by 8 I can write. So this is 8 I naught cos square pi by 8 I can write. So it is 8 I naught cos square pi by 8. Now cos square theta, you know, sin theta and cos 2 theta. So cos 2 theta you generally write as cos square theta minus sin square theta. So that will become 2 cos square theta minus 1. So that would be 1 plus cos 2 theta by 2. So 1 plus cos of pi by 4 by 2. So you are left with 8 by 2 is 4 into 1 plus 1 by root 2, which is 0.707 into I naught. So what you have, 4 into 1.707, so 4 7s are 8, 2, 4 7s are 8, 2, 6.828. So greatest integer function if you have used it would be 6, I suppose. So answer as per me should be 6. So again, it was a nicely designed question. I can say this paper was actually good. It's tough, it's not going to be easy. Thanks for watching, keep sharing.